Before the demons, before possession, before everything humanity calls evil, there was them. They were not legends. They were not myths. They were not symbols. They were real. Giants, sons of angels who should never have descended. Beings that creation should never have seen. They walked the earth. They made the ground tremble. They made armies flee. They made God himself act. Their existence was so disturbing, so violent, so impossible to ignore, that it forced the greatest judgment in history. The flood was not just a storm, it was a response, and what remained of them when the waters receded did not disappear. It is still here. This is the story that few know, the most disturbing story in the Bible, the story that was hidden for millennia. This is the story of the Nephilim.
Before the giants, before the flood, before the corruption that forced the heavens to destroy everything, there was a mission. Not a small mission, not a secondary one, a secret mission, given to the most powerful beings in the celestial army. Beings who knew no fear, no doubt, no weakness. They were called the Watchers, angels appointed not to wage war, not to deliver messages, not to destroy, but to observe, to guard, to watch over every step of newly created humanity, to protect what had been called very good. There were 200 of them, 200 beings of incomparable light and power, 200 celestial consciousnesses, pure, disciplined, obedient, descending upon Mount Hermon like sentinels of heaven, carefully positioned over the earth. Their descent was not like a fall, it was like a placement, like stars choosing a fixed position in the firmament of creation. There they stood, watching, silent, present. Their mission was simple: observe the children of men, guide when necessary, protect without being seen, never interfere, never cross the line, never get involved. But there was something no one in all of heaven had anticipated, something that had not been calculated, something that changed everything. Humanity was beautiful, not just in appearance, but in essence. The daughters of men walked the earth with a beauty the angels had never seen before. It was not perfect beauty, it was not cold, it was not untouchable like the beauty of heaven. It was alive, it was emotional, it was vulnerable, it was irresistible. There was something in them that did not exist in the heavens, something that awakened curiosity, and then something much deeper. And the Watchers began to look for longer than they should have, with more attention than their mission permitted, not with the eyes of guardians, but with the eyes of those who desire. And that was the beginning. The first deviation was not an action, it was a look, a thought, a feeling that should not have existed, and it grew, silent, hidden, but stronger with every passing moment, until one of them decided to break the silence. An angel named Semyaza. He was the first to speak, the first to give name to what all of them felt, but none dared to admit. He gathered the 200 at the summit of Mount Hermon, there where heaven seemed closest to the earth, there where decisions echo the farthest, and he made a proposal that would echo through all of eternity. Let each of us choose a woman from among the daughters of men and father children. The silence that followed was the heaviest in all of history. No sound, no movement, only the weight of the decision hanging in the air, because all of them knew what it meant: abandonment of the mission, betrayal of the Creator, a break with heaven, a fall with no return. But the desire was stronger than the fear, stronger than obedience, stronger than the eternity they had always known. And in that moment, purity gave way to choice, and choice to error. And so, 200 angels made an oath, not an oath of loyalty, but of rebellion. At the summit of a sacred mountain, beneath a sky that would never be the same, they sealed their fate. They would descend not as watchers, but as transgressors, not as protectors, but as participants. They would descend, and the world would never be the same. They descended, not as warriors in battle, not as messengers carrying divine words, not with trumpets, not with glory. They descended as those who had abandoned everything, as beings who left heaven behind without knowing they would never return, with wings that folded for the last time, not in worship, but in renunciation. And as they descended, the light they carried began to fade. With every step toward the earth, it dimmed. With every choice, it moved further from the Creator. Semyaza led, firm, decided, without looking back. And behind him came the 200, in silence, but carrying within themselves something that was no longer pure. Each one with a name, names that had once been honored in heaven. Each one with an ability, gifts that should never have touched the world of men. Each one with a secret that should never have been revealed, but it would be. Azazel was among the first to act. He taught men how to forge swords and shields. Fire began to shape metal, and metal began to shape violence. The art of war was born there, something heaven never wanted humanity to know. And it did not stop there. Others began to teach sorcery, words whispered in darkness, rituals performed far from watchful eyes, enchantments that summoned invisible forces. They taught how to read the stars, not with admiration, but with the desire for control. They taught how to deal with spirits, as if the invisible could be dominated. It was forbidden knowledge, ancient, dangerous, far too powerful, and it was poured over humanity like poison disguised as wisdom. It looked like progress, it looked like power, but it was corruption. And the women, the daughters of men who had fascinated them so deeply, were taken as wives, not by force at first, but through seduction, through the supernatural presence of the Watchers, through a beauty that was not of this world. There was something in them, something that attracted, that surrounded, that dominated. They promised more life, more power, more than any man could ever offer, and that was enough. The families were left speechless. Fathers watched, unable to understand. The elders trembled because they knew this was not natural. The priests had no answers, because how do you resist a being that shines, that does not age, that speaks as if it came from the stars, that promises eternity with a single touch? You do not resist. And so, the Watchers established themselves among men, living as they never should have lived, feeling what they never should have felt, loving as they never should have loved, and teaching what should never have been taught. Heaven watched in silence for a time, but what grew in the wombs of those women was different, something that did not belong to the order of creation, larger from the very beginning, stronger than any man, and with a hunger that could not be satisfied. And when the first children were born, the world felt it. Something was wrong, because they were not human. They were not angels. They were a mixture, a rupture, something that should never have existed. And in that moment, fear took hold of the earth, because creation had been violated, and that could not be undone. They were the Nephilim. Imagine seeing one of them for the first time, not in a battle, not in a distant vision, not in a dream, but there, right in front of your eyes, in your village, on your road, in the middle of your everyday life, where everything should have been ordinary, predictable, safe, and suddenly it was not. A child is born, but not like any other, not small, not fragile, not dependent, but large, already the size of an adult from the very first moment. Something is wrong from the very beginning, something that does not belong to the natural order of life, and it grows too fast in a way impossible to follow. Days pass and it is already unrecognizable. Weeks pass and it has already surpassed every human limit, until what was once a child becomes something impossible to ignore. Giants, beings that walk the earth as if the world itself were too small for them. They did not merely exist, they dominated everything around them, and everyone knew it. They ate, but not like men. The amount they consumed was enough to feed entire families, entire villages, and still the hunger remained. A constant hunger, deep, insatiable, as if something inside them could never be filled. Ancient texts speak of giants reaching 9 meters in height. Others say they were even larger, tall enough to be seen from a great distance, tall enough for fear to arrive before they did. When they walked, the earth responded, the ground trembled, and the hearts of men trembled with it. But the size was not the worst part. They were violent, extremely violent. There was a rage in them that was not natural, a fury that seems to come from within, as if their very existence was a conflict, as if the mixture of the divine and the human had created something unstable, something that did not fit in heaven and did not fit on earth, something caught between two worlds belonging to neither. And not hunger began to grow into something darker. First came the animals. Entire herds disappeared. Then came the crops. Fields were destroyed, plantations consumed completely. Nothing was enough, nothing satisfied, until the hunger changed. And then came the humans. The ancient texts of the Book of Enoch describe this in deeply disturbing detail. Giants that devoured the flesh of men, that drank blood, that did not merely kill, but corrupted everything they touched. The earth began to change. What was once built with hope was now built with despair. Massive stone walls began to rise, reinforced gates, not to protect wealth, but to try to survive, to hide, to buy time. But it wasn't enough. The walls were not enough. No human army could face them. No strategy worked. No weapon created by men was capable of stopping them. And the Watchers, the very fathers of these creatures, began to realize something terrifying. They had lost control. What they had created no longer obeyed them. What began as desire had transformed into horror. What began as forbidden love had transformed into the greatest calamity humanity had ever faced. And then the earth cried. A silent cry, but full of pain, full of blood, full of suffering. And that cry rose beyond the mountains, beyond the clouds, until it reached the heavens. 4 archangels heard that cry: Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Uriel. They looked down at the earth, and what they saw was no longer the perfect creation, no longer what had been called good. It was corruption, violence, destruction with limit. And when they saw it, they were filled with a holy fury, a righteous indignation that could not be ignored. The report rose to the throne, and the response that came from there would not be small, would not be partial. It would be definitive, and it would change the world forever. There was a man. In the midst of all that corruption, in the midst of all that violence and darkness that covered the earth, there was one man who still walked with integrity. His name was Noah. He was not perfect. He was not a warrior. He was not a king. He had no armies, no power, no influence over the world around him. He was just a man who refused to give in. While the world sank deeper into the influence of the Watchers, while humanity embraced forbidden knowledge as if it were progress, while the Nephilim spread fear, destruction, and death across the earth, Noah remained, and it was to him that the voice came, not with thunder, not with apocalyptic visions of fire, but with something simple, clear, direct, a command that sounded impossible. Build an ark. No explanations, no detailed answers, no full picture of what was coming, just a command. And Noah obeyed. He began to build, day after day, year after year, decades devoted to something no one else could understand, while the world watched and laughed. Neighbors mocked him, people pointed at him, called him a fool, a madman, someone disconnected from reality, and still he kept building. In the distance, the Nephilim roared, the earth trembled beneath their steps, violence continued, corruption grew worse, but Noah did not stop, hammering, lifting, building, without pause, without surrender, until one day the ark was finished. And then something changed. The animals came from every direction, in pairs, silent, guided by something beyond instinct. They entered the ark as if they knew, as if they could feel that time had run out. Noah's family entered, and then the door was shut, not by Noah's hands, but by something greater. And in that moment, the sky changed. The air grew heavy. A silence fell over everything, as if creation itself was holding its breath. And then it began. The sky opened like a wound, and the fountains of the deep burst forth. This was not ordinary rain. This was not a storm like any other. This was something beyond anything the world had ever seen. Waters from below erupted from the earth, deep sources breaking through the ground, and waters from above poured down without stopping. No pause, no mercy, for 40 days and 40 nights. The earth began to disappear. Villages vanished. Cities were swallowed. Cries echoed, and then were silenced. The Nephilim ran. They climbed mountains, sought the highest ground, but it did not matter. The waters reached them, the force they could not overcome. The giants fell. They were swallowed, erased, and the watchers saw everything. They watched their creation be wiped away, and there was nothing they could do. No control, no reversal. Corrupt humanity drowned. Forbidden knowledge drowned. Violence, terror, evil, all were carried away by the waters. And then silence returned. The waters began to recede, slowly, as if the earth itself was being cleansed, was being restored, was beginning again. And when Noah stepped out of the ark, the world was no longer the same. The air felt different. The ground felt new. The silence was deep. And then a rainbow stretched across the sky for the first time. A sign, a promise, a reminder that this would not be forgotten. The earth was clean. The Nephilim were gone. Their bodies decayed. Their bones sank into the mud, gone from the surface of the world. But there was something the waters could not destroy, something that could not drown, something that would continue, that would wander, that would never find rest. The bodies died. They were consumed by the waters, buried beneath the earth, erased from the surface of the world. But the spirits of the Nephilim had nowhere to go. And this is the most disturbing part of the entire story, and also the the least known. Because for most beings, death leads somewhere. Humans, when they die, have a destination, a place beyond life. Angels, when they fall, have a sentence, a judgment, a fate already determined. But the Nephilim were something else, a mixture, half angel, half human. And when they died, neither world claimed them. Heaven did not receive them, and the human order could not contain them. They were left without a place, without belonging, without rest. The book of Enoch describes what happened next. The spirits of the giants did not disappear. They did not pass on. They wandered, without bodies, without form, without a home, without rest. Conscious, but without flesh. Hungry for the same violence that defined them in life. Thirsting for the same power they could never control. What they were in the flesh, they remained in spirit. And that made everything worse. Because without bodies, they could no longer act the same way, but they also could not stop. And so, they began to search for other bodies, for other minds, for vessels. Ancient texts say these spirits became what we now call demons, not beings created for evil from the beginning, but corrupted remnants, lost, angry, restless, searching for a body, searching for flesh, searching for influence, searching for a way to continue. And this idea echoes through human history, across every culture, across every civilization. Stories of evil spirits, of possession, of unseen forces that torment the living, of voices that whisper in the dark, of presences that seem to understand fear better than humans themselves. And if the book of Enoch is right, they all share the same origin. Children of angels who should never have fallen, giants who should never have existed, spirits that never found peace and never will. They are still here, not visible, but present, wandering, searching, trying. The story of the Nephilim did not end with the flood. It ended, or perhaps it never truly ended. Because what was created in that forbidden union between the celestial and the human did not disappear. It remained, invisible, silent, but active, moving among us, influencing, whispering, waiting. The giants died, but their legacy remains, not in bones, not in ruins, but in something deeper, more subtle, more dangerous. In every unseen spiritual battle, in every shadow that whispers in the dark, in every temptation that feels like it comes from within, but comes from something far more ancient. This is the story of the Nephilim, the forbidden children of heaven, the giants who forced God to cleanse the world, and the spirits that still wander, without rest, without peace, waiting for the final day.
Bless this channel with your like and your subscription so this message can reach more hearts. May the word of God bring hope, faith, and light to everyone who watches. If this message touched your heart, share it, because one word from God can change a life.